Welcome to the webinar. My name is Michelle, and I am the Training Program Manager here at TopCoder. Today is our inaugural session on the basics of TopCoder. We're calling it our Getting Started webinar. This is the first in a brand new series of online trainings we are planning on offering in the coming year, and we'll communicate those new offerings with you as they begin. So let's get right into it. Today, we're going to focus on the very beginnings of a project and walk you through the process of how to get a copilot and also cover a brief overview of our 5 different contest types. So let's begin with the competitions. We have over 30 separate competitions that can be run independently. However, I have broken these competitions down into 5 distinct categories: Design Studio, UI development, QA and maintenance, and algorithm. Let's start with the one that everyone gets really excited about, Design Studio. These are the guys who will design logos, web pages, and any banners, icons, buttons, print media, or anything that requires a creative eye. Their work is very subjective, however, so you won't see any numbers or rankings listed on their profiles. These types of contests generally return 10 to 15 submissions, depending upon what you're looking for, and as a client, you get to decide which submission you like the most. It's comparable to what a design company would do or an in-house graphic design team would be doing for you. Our next type of contest is our UI development contest. These guys will lay out very detailed specs in conceptualization contests and idea generation contests, as well as create the layout and flow of any end user interaction. They'll take care of the UI prototyping, wireframes, the storyboarding, and any type of presentation documentation you may need. So things like PowerPoint presentations or infographics will fall under this category as well. Now, in all reality, our conceptualization and idea generation contests, which produce UML, business rules, and workflow diagrams, could really be given their own category. But just to keep things simple, we'll lump them together with our UI development for now. Next type of contest is going to be our development contest. And within this category, there are many different types of contests that can be run. These are going to be your traditional software development work. So things like component design and development, architecture, system assembly, POC assembly, and report creation. Our next competition type is what I like to call QA and maintenance. So these guys will pretty much QA anything. They compete in what we call bug hunts, where the person who finds the most bugs wins the first place prize. So this is very much a competition. The payout is typically small, but it allows you to get things tested quickly. These QA analyses, bug races, and bug hunts are actually happening quite frequently alongside of the other competitions you have running. Once a piece of the project is complete, the copilot will run a QA contest or bug hunt to make sure we didn't miss anything. In larger projects, the QA team will run the deliverable against test cases and complete test suites to vet out any errors or inconsistencies in the design or code. We can also use bug hunts for standards compliance too, in architecture, not just in development. One example of this is to ferret out Section 508 problems. The last type of competition is our algorithm competitions. These are your mathematical geniuses who can solve very high-level complex problems. Typically, there's no crossover between this type of a competitor and the other types of competitions. They are in it only to solve extremely difficult algorithms. We really only have 2 types of competitions that run under this category. The first really has nothing to do with you as a client, and you'll typically never need to see these, but people really find this type of a person intriguing, so I like to cover what we offer for them. The competition is called single round matches, or SRMs, which are 80 to 90 minutes long, with 3 problems per match, where the problems get progressively harder. So this is very much a game and a virtual arena split up into virtual rooms, and they are competing to solve the algorithms the best and the fastest. So this is very much brain-driven and recognition-driven. They compete in these just so they can have bragging rights. There's no money awarded. They just want the recognition. The second type of competition is our marathon matches. This is big data stuff. So NASA, DNA sequencing, and other large data needs that are drawn out into longer forms of algorithmic challenges that typically last 2 weeks. If you have massive amounts of data that you need to break down, this is the competition that is going to do it for you. All right, so now that we know a little bit about the different types of competitions we offer, let's talk about how to make these competitions work for you. And that all begins with a copilot. There are 3 steps to the process of getting a copilot, and we'll cover those in just a bit. But let's begin with an overview of who our copilots are. Think of them as the management arm of the community. They orchestrate everything. They'll be your right-hand man on any project that you start. They are the members of the community who are platform and delivery experts. The copilots are contestants that have been around for several years and have become senior members of the community. They have a good feel for how the platform works and are responsible for helping the customer build out their product. These are truly your full cycle process managers. They're former competitors, and they still compete to some degree, but they are taking the customer's ideas in managing the project. They know how to structure a plan for your project. They know how pricing works. They know how the community works. The copilot is the person who executes the plan. Now, not everyone can be a copilot. A default minimum set of standards needs to be met. Then we screen them and have an MSA and NDA on file, and we're also connected to their banks. That's how they get paid. They have to have a government-issued ID on file, and they have the same level of confidentiality and security as our in-house staff. They only get paid if the contest succeeds, so they have every incentive to make your contest work. The copilot helps you by creating connections to the community and managing the individual contests that make up your entire project. Let's take a closer look at how this branches out. So here you'll see different levels of interaction. The process all begins with you, the client, a project manager on your team who will reach out and connect with a copilot. That's the first level you see here. Then the copilot's job is to break that project down into smaller components, and the community fulfills those requests through different contests. So the first contest you'll run, even before you start a project, is the copilot contest. In this contest, you'll lay out a description of what you're looking to do, the basic scope of your project, and what the deliverable will generally look like. You don't have to have every detail ironed out at this point. That's the copilot's job. But you'll want to give them enough information to decide if they want to work on your project or not. So let's go ahead and begin with step 1 of our 3-step process in selecting a copilot. So step 1 is to gather the right information. You want to have details about your project on hand to provide a public description of what you're looking to do. You'll want to know what technologies are acceptable or preferred and what, if any, additional requirements are necessary so the copilots can formulate a game plan and put together a proposal for you. This proposal will include a budget, scope, and timeline. It will provide you with a strategy that the copilot suggests using and any further considerations as far as technologies, resources, and limitations they see or recommend. Remember, in the initial gathering information phase, if there are confidentiality concerns, you'll want to address those at this time by blinding any proprietary information or scrubbing the data as needed so it can be posted out in a public copilot forum. Now, once you have all of your documentation on hand it's time to engage the co-pilots. And for this part of our presentation, I'm going to forego our PowerPoint here, and I'm going to move over to a real-life demonstration of how to engage the co-pilots. So to do this, you're going to navigate to Cockpit. So I'm just going to select Go to Cockpit here. So from here, you're just going to select Get a Copilot on the right-hand side of the page. And then we'll select to engage the copilots. Now, if you already have a project created, you can select it from the drop-down box. But if not, you can create a new project by clicking on Add New and then filling out some basic information. So this information is only seen by internal employees of your company, and it can also be edited. So to speed things along, I suggest giving this project an accurate name and then typing the project name again in the description box, just so we can save time. And you can always come back and add more details later. Let's go ahead and click Yes to continue. All right, so scrolling down here, you'll see we have some more information that we need to fill out. The Copilot opportunity title should give the copilots a good idea of what the project is about. Let's put mobile project. And the description should be your sales pitch to the Copilot community, so as to generate interest in your project and differentiate it from possibly similar project opportunities that may be running at the same time as your project opportunity. So remember, this is a public description. So if there are any confidentiality concerns, be sure to take that into consideration before finalizing this posting. So typically your descriptions should consist of no more than 5 to 6 sentences. If you have more information that you want to provide in the form of attachments, you can do so from the bottom by selecting the attachment files down here. So you want to be sure to give the copilots a good idea of what you're looking to accomplish, but you also want to keep it simple because the project is not entirely defined yet. It's perfectly okay to tell the copilots that you're open to suggestions. The private description box is shown to the copilots only after they register for the opportunity, so you can use this box to provide more in-depth information regarding your project that you don't necessarily want published publicly. So when you get that information filled out, just click Next Step. In this next step, you'll select what type of experience you prefer your copilot to have. So just click 1 or 2 or as many as you need of the checkboxes and click Next Step to continue. All right, in this step, you'll define budget information. So typically we recommend selecting I don't have a budget yet, so your copilots can estimate this for you. This is a really good way to get a sense of what the community feels your project will cost, and also gives you a good way to compare different submissions. For example, if you get 6 total submissions, 4 of which are roughly the same cost, 1 that is way below, and 1 that is extremely high, you can compare the submissions and take a look at that as one of the deciding factors. Click Next Step to continue, which brings us to step 2 of our 3-step process, which is actually launching the Copilot opportunity. So you can post this opportunity now, or you can choose to schedule it for a later date. Now, once the opportunity is launched, the registration period in which the copilots can sign up as interested parties to run this project is 48 hours from the time of the launch. So once a copilot has registered for your project, they then begin work on their proposal. The submission deadline for your copilots to submit their proposal runs for 4 days from the time of launch. So during this time, you will need to be available to answer questions that the copilots may have. It's extremely important for you to be available and watching the forums during this time period so questions can be answered promptly and the copilots have enough information to get that proposal to you before the submission deadline closes. So because of this, we really recommend launching a Copilot contest on a Sunday or Monday so you don't run into a weekend in the middle of your contest time frame. So if you need to, you can schedule it for a more convenient time by selecting Do It Later. Now, the typical prize amount for the Copilot contest is $225, with $150 of that going to the winner and $75 of that going to a second place payment. So this is a generally accepted amount and should be used in most cases. So we'll click Proceed to continue. We'll set the date for a Sunday or Monday and click Next Step. Now, it's important to note that your posting will not be live just yet. All right, so in this final step, you'll select a billing account to associate to this project. You'll select that from the drop-down here. Now, if there is no billing account listed in your drop-down, please email support@topcoder.com. Again, that is support@topcoder.com to inquire about your billing account. Once you select the billing account and click Next Step, then your posting will be live. So you can also choose to save this posting as a draft by clicking on the Save as Draft option in the top right of your screen. So for our example today, we'll just go ahead and save this as a draft. So once the Copilot contest is launched, you'll need to watch the forums and to be available to answer questions as the Copilot opportunity goes on. So since we just saved this contest as a draft, we can locate it by clicking on the My Copilot's Posting tab along the top. So here you'll see your posting or postings if you have more than one Copilot contest running. So since I have a couple Copilot contests running, I'm just going to use my filters and filter just for my drafts here, and then find the project that we just started. So to access the forum, I'm just going to click the hyperlinked number over here in the forum column. And this will open a new browser tab and take you directly to the Copilot forum. So first, notice that you are watching this forum. So by default, when you launch a Copilot contest, you will automatically be signed up to watch the forum. So this allows you to receive an email each time a new question is asked. You are currently watching the forums. If you see the text, Stop Watching Forums. Notice that when I click to stop watching the forums, it then gives me the option to watch the forums. So you just want to double check and make sure that you signed up to watch this forum. So when a new question comes in, you'll see it displayed here in bold type along with the handle of the user who posted the question, and will also list the date and time that it was posted. Now, it's often a good idea to start a thread even before any of the Copilots post a question. So this encourages an open dialogue between you and the Copilots who are interested in your project. So you'll notice that by default, there are already 2 threads listed in your forum, one for questions and one for documents. The documents thread allows you to add more attachments or further information about your project as a whole for the Copilots. The questions thread is where you'll answer questions about your project. So to start a thread, just click on the thread name and then click on Be the First Person to Post in this forum. So you can type a short welcome message and type information here. So you can type a short welcome message to let the Copilots know that you're excited to get your project going and you're looking forward to answering any of their questions. So just click Post to post this question in your forum. So once a question has been asked, you'll click the question and then click on the reply item right up here to reply to this question. So now you'll see my reply will appear just below the other information. Now also notice the breadcrumbs along the top of the box here. You can use these quick links to get back to the starting forum page. All right, going back over to the My Copilot's posting page in Cockpit, you can also access your Copilot posting by clicking on the link in the Copilot posting form, and this will open the Copilot posting page. And if you saved it as a draft, you can activate the posting from here as well. You can also preview your Copilot posting by clicking on the Preview Copilot Posting link just above the red Details tab. So this gives you a way to take a look at what your posting is going to look like through the eyes of a competitor. What you're looking at is exactly what they will see. All right, going back over to Cockpit, you'll also notice you can access the forum from that same area just above the red Details tab as well. So take note of this forum box here. Once this posting starts moving along, this box is going to give you a quick overview of the latest activity in the forums and alerts you to any unanswered threads that need attention. Now, if you need to edit any details of your posting, you can do so by clicking that edit link next to the area you want to revise. When you make changes, you want to be sure to select Save Changes before you leave this area if any changes were indeed made. All right, so I'm going to jump over to a posting that has just a little more action on it to cover the next few areas. All right, there we go. As soon as Copilot starts signing up to submit proposals for your project, you can view those Copilots by clicking on the Registrants tab. This allows you to take a peek at the experience of the Copilots and their current workload, all things you should consider when selecting a Copilot for your project. Remember, it's very important for your team to answer questions promptly while the Copilot contest is going on. All right, we've reached the final step of our three-step process. Remember, step 1 was to gather the right information. Step 2 was to launch the Copilot opportunity. And step 3 is to select your Copilot. So once the submissions start rolling in, you can start taking a look at them. Now, don't be too worried if you don't see any submissions until the very end of the 4-day submission period. It's not unusual for the Copilots to take their time working on a good plan for your project. So to take a look at the submissions, click on the Submissions tab. For here, you can download each submission. So let's take a closer look at an example, and let me show you what your submissions will generally look like. So when I download the submission, you'll see that there are two primary documents, a strategy document and a game plan. The strategy document includes the Copilot's proposal for how your project should run. They'll let you know the timeline they recommend, the estimated cost, the approach that they would take, and other information. You'll also see an overview of the project scope from their perspective, any technologies they recommend, and what resources they'll need from you and your team to complete the project. The game plan document shows you a timeline of what competitions the Copilot thinks need to be run to complete the project. So this should give you a pretty good idea of what this Copilot is thinking as far as strategy and time frame. So these are the two basic documents that will accompany each submission from the Copilots. You want to be sure to read through them carefully and possibly bring other people from your team in on this for input when making a decision. Remember, this is going to be the person who will be your overall project coordinator for the duration of the project. So being armed with as much information as possible is critical. Also, be sure to think of these proposals as rough estimates. The actual timeline will probably end up being a bit longer than the proposed time frame. Remember, the Copilot does not know your company's approval process, so the game plan does not account for any authorization or thumbs up, thumbs down decisions that you'll need on your side. So this may delay the start or completion of a contest by a few days or weeks. The proposed budget is also an estimate, which is based on the overall average cost of the contests that the copilot has proposed. So yours may come in above or below this. Just a few things to keep in mind as you're looking at and comparing the submissions. Also, you can turn to your TopCoder account manager for insight into the strengths of each copilot. Since they've worked with the copilots in the past, they'll probably have some suggestions for you on which copilots may be best suited for your company and for your specific project.